So we're joined by Ken Simpler. And Ken, since you could consider this sort of a job interview, why don't you give us sort of your 30-second pitch, tell Delaware voters why you should be the next treasurer.
I guess what I've said to voters everywhere from fairs, festivals, parades, and all whatnot is finance guy for a finance job. I've spent 20 years as either a chief financial officer or an asset manager for a global investment firm. To me, the treasurer's job is one part money manager and one part finance officer, and that's how I've spent my career, and that's the value I think I can bring to Delaware in the treasurer's office.
A lot of this campaign on the Democratic side, certainly with the current state treasurer, has sort of focused on things not really connected to the treasurer's office and the details of the office and the duties. But let's start there. What would you define the state treasurer's office as? What are the qualities of a good state treasurer? What will a successful state treasurer do?
Well, if you start with what the job actually is, then you can probably decide what the skills are that are best suited to that job. I think the job, the day-to-day job, is the collection, investment, and disbursement of the money that comes into and out of our state. And when I say the investment, it's the cash that's on hand at any given time. So I think Delaware spends on the order of magnitude of $8 billion a year. That's more than just the general fund, that's all the monies. So roughly $8 billion a year flows into and out of the Treasury, and at any given time, $2 billion is there to invest through the policies and guidelines established by the Cash Management Policy Board, but that are administered by the Treasurer. That's the focus of the job. So if you have spent your career investing money and or dealing with finance matters as a chief financial officer, I think you bring a toolkit to the job where you can improve the operations of those and ensure that the job is handled professionally. And as someone who's not ever run for political office, I'm not looking at this as a platform per se. I'm looking at this as a job that needs to be done well as a critical part of our finance function here in the state of Delaware.
You mentioned the Cash Management Policy Board and a lot of the current treasurers. He's been in a debate with that group over its role and the treasurer's role. Is there a right relationship, in your opinion, between the treasurer and that board?
Sure, and I don't think it's a unique relationship. I mean, let's face it, this is what I did for a career as an asset manager for a global fund. I had an oversight board. I didn't just ride around making whatever investments I wanted to. I had to report to an advisory board that actually had a set of expectations around the returns that I would earn, as well as the next set of expectations around the types of investments I would make. Cash Management Policy Board is no different. Treasurer sits on the Cash Management Policy Board as one of 9 members to try to shape those guidelines if that person brings value to that experience. And the Treasurer executes the guidelines that are established by that board. So, understanding and having a good grip on what actually it is we invest in, the actual underlying securities that we take risk in by investing in them, and there are no risk-free assets out there, let's be clear about that, is an important part of the toolkit that you bring to the job. Certainly interacting with a board goes much more smoothly when they view you as an expert that has a similar skill set to them, that there can be a dialogue, that there can be a respectful dialogue. I think the challenge with the current state treasurer, and frankly I think my opponents in the current race have the same challenges, they don't bring that experience or skill set to the board. So I think it's going to be hard for them to interact with the board in a meaningful manner to shape policy or to execute the instructions with confidence that the board sets.
Does the treasurer's office need to be reformed or improved, and how would you go about doing that?
I think that the challenge for us right now as a state is broad along the lines of finance. But the finance function that's done in the Treasury, the twofold objective of collecting and dispersing and investing, definitely, I'll put it to you this way. If there's $8 billion of money that flow through, a 1% improvement in the efficiency in collection and disbursements, that's $40 million. That's not chump change. Similarly, a $2 billion portfolio that the performance is improved by as little as 0.5% is $10 million. 1%, $20 million. That's per annum every year. That's $50 to $60 million of potential real dollar improvements. We don't have enough transparency around the actual investments in the portfolio or around the operations of the Treasurer's office for me to say to you with certainty how performance can be improved. I don't get enough data. But as someone who's spent 20 years doing this exact job, I feel like I can bring real value to that position.
All right, Ken Simpler, running for state treasurer in the September 9th primary. Thanks so much for joining us on
Many
First.
Thanks, Mark.
The other name on the Republican ballot for treasurer is Sher Valenzuela. Welcome, Sher. Thank you so much for coming on to our show.
Thank you, Shirley. It's good to be here.
I want to start with your 30-second pitch for the job of state treasurer.
Well, I know that we need a conservative, a fiscal conservative in this office. We've got some major problems in our state in terms of fiscal discipline. And so the Office of the Treasurer, I believe, in terms of economic growth, which we badly need in this state, would begin to focus on routing out wasteful spending and smaller government, lower taxes, and less regulations. And that's going to allow for a flow of prosperity to come back into the state and be able to move the state in a positive direction versus a tax and spend direction that we currently have.
So in your mind, the role of state treasurer bigger than just signing paychecks?
Oh, absolutely. We are in my mind, as a conservative, the watchdog for taxpayers. And that is absolutely a very important role. Second, I believe, to the governor in terms of incorporating fiscal, discipline into the state operating budget and to reducing the size of government when it comes to the way in which we're managing our state budget.
I know reforming the unclaimed property fund is big in your platform. What's wrong with the way the system is now?
It is absolutely the worst in the nation in terms of the grade that we get for the manner in which we handle unclaimed property. Mm-hmm. Abandoned property is found in the form of utility deposits that are forgotten about, or dormant bank accounts that are left sitting, or gift cards even. Mm-hmm. And last year we paid an out-of-state firm, by the way, staffed largely by the Markell administration in terms of campaign workers, $53 million to incentivize them to take that money and move it into what has become the third largest revenue stream for the state of Delaware. So you could say that the third largest revenue stream is based on stolen property of Delawareans, and we need to get that back into the hands of Delawareans, allow them to put that back into the economy.
You know, in next week's primary, you're up against Republican Ken Simpler, who came on earlier, and he had said he's the only candidate with a finance background who has a proven track record of managing money. Your rebuttal to that?
Well, I have nothing against hedge fund managers. However, they have a high risk, roll the dice approach that's used as a stockbroker. And I am a fiscal conservative, fiscal conservative, operated multi-million-dollar budgets and have an international business that we've grown in the state of Delaware over the last 20 years. So I handle multi-million-dollar budgets, balance sheets, and projects. And I really believe that we need a small business strategist, finance strategist in that role that takes a conservative approach versus a hedge fund approach.
The state GOP held a debate, a primary debate, mm-hmm. and you declined to participate. Why did you do that?
Well, we had that invitation come in at the beginning of our campaign, and you can imagine that there are many, I would say an avalanche of invitations, and there were immediate scheduling conflicts. We declined at that point in time due to scheduling conflicts, but we have held debates on each end of the state and forums across the state. So and in fact, we've posted debates on our website so that other folks can, if they're not able to hear that particular day, can, tune in and understand the issues that way.
You burst onto the political scene 2 years ago when you ran against incumbent Matt Dent for lieutenant governor. Do you see the state treasurer's office as a stepping stone to a larger office? Because it has been done before, clearly.
It has been. I have never considered myself a career politician, and it's one of the reasons why I'm not taking a salary in this position. I really do believe that there is a role, if you're blessed in terms of our case of being able to have a successful business, mm-hmm. of becoming a public servant. So I don't think beyond the job. I think in terms of measurable goals to accomplish something for the citizens of Delaware, and I don't really look beyond achieving that and serving the public in the manner in which I'm now seeking.
So if you win, you will finish the term beginning to end. You'll be there for the duration.
I don't know any other way to do something but in the completion of service, so yes.
All right, Sher Valenzuela, thank you so much for joining us. The interview went by so quickly.
That flew by. Thank you for having me. Sure.